Hello, Rural Wireless Association. I would have preferred to join you in person in Park City, but I am grateful for this opportunity to address you remotely. I believe that no matter who you are or where you live, you need access to modern communications to have a fair shot at 21st century success. That's why the FCC is pursuing a 100% broadband policy. And that means our efforts don't stop until we bring affordable, reliable, high-speed broadband to 100% of the country. To do this requires tackling the connectivity challenges of rural America. That's an issue that I know is near and dear to you, and it is to me too. The plain truth is that the economics of deployment in rural areas can be tough. Networks are often costly to build and maintain in places where the population is sparse. Private investment can lead the way, but there are going to be places where it may not be enough. We need to fix this so that rural communities are not forever consigned to the wrong side of the digital divide and shut off from the economic opportunities of the internet age. The good news is that there is more consensus around this fundamental truth than ever before, because at the FCC and across the federal government, we are pursuing a range of new policies to close our connectivity gaps in rural America. And I'm pleased to report we're making significant progress on a number of fronts. The headline here is the $65 billion investment in broadband deployment and affordability that was included in the historic bipartisan infrastructure bill. The largest chunk of that is $42 billion for broadband deployment. Now, this funding will be dispersed by the Department of Commerce, but the FCC is playing an important role helping to make sure this funding is spent wisely. That's because the funds will be distributed based on data the FCC is collecting to map where internet service is and is not in this country. In fact, on June 30th, really just a few hours from now, we are going to be opening our new system to collect coverage information from carriers. When that window opens, get us your data as quickly as possible. The bipartisan infrastructure bill also included $14 billion to make internet service more affordable. With this support, the FCC has launched the nation's largest ever broadband affordability effort, and it's called the Affordable Connectivity Program. To date, it's responsible for connecting roughly 12.5 million households nationwide to high-speed service. And to those of you who are participating, thank you, and keep at it. Now, obviously, this audience is focused on expanding wireless service in rural areas, and that means freeing up more spectrum. This July is going to be a big month for opening up more airwaves for 5G in rural America. For starters, we will kick off our auction of the 2.5 gigahertz band, and the bulk of the available licenses are in rural areas. And this is on top of work we've already done to extend service in our tribal communities by issuing 335 licenses in this band. But that's not all. On July 14th, during the FCC monthly open meeting, we have an important issue that involves rural wireless service on our docket. We're going to be voting to establish a new program to help grow wireless competition and create new opportunities for smaller wireless carriers in tribal nations. We're calling it the Enhanced Competition Incentive Program, or ECIP. Here's how it will work. We know today that some wireless providers have access to airwaves that others might be better positioned to deploy. But the FCC's rules don't always make it easy to get spectrum resources to those who want to build in the places that need it most. This new program will help fix that by building better incentives. Specifically, an existing wireless provider that uses its license to create new opportunities for small carriers or tribal nations by partitioning, disaggregating, or leasing the spectrum will see gain and not just loss for doing so. So how is that? Well, from now on, we will reward them with longer license terms, an extension on build-out obligations, and more flexible construction requirements if they do this. It's a way to make sure spectrum in rural areas actually goes to those most likely to use it. I think our system needs a boost to help make this happen, and this proposal is just that. It's about making sure wireless connections are available in 100% of rural America. But the thing is, we also need to make those connections secure. And this is especially vital as we transition to next generation 5G networks that will connect so much more in the world around us. The FCC has been pursuing a proactive strategy to help build this secure 5G future. And a centerpiece of this strategy has been promoting the possibilities of open radio access networks. This technology promises to increase security, drive down costs, and help build a bigger and more competitive market for secure 5G equipment. Now, last year, the agency launched the first ever federal inquiry to explore ways Open RAN technology can help make our communications supply chains more diverse and resilient. So you can imagine my delight when I went to the Rural Wireless Association's website the other day to prepare for these remarks. And the very first thing I saw on the landing page was a banner promoting your new Open RAN resource guide. Thank you. What you're doing will be good for your companies and good for our country. The FCC is also working to remove untrusty equipment from our communications networks wherever it may exist. Removing insecure equipment from existing networks after installation, well, it's hard because historically these systems were closed, they were deeply integrated, and there wasn't a lot of opportunity to mix and match equipment from different vendors. The good news is Congress provided $1.9 billion to finance the complex task of removing equipment from Huawei and ZTE from your networks. The FCC asked carriers to come forward with plans to remediate their networks, and the response has been strong, really, really strong. We received more than 180 applications from carriers who have developed plans to remove and replace equipment in their networks that they believe poses a national security threat. The initial estimated cost to carry out these plans was over $5 billion, which is obviously a lot more than $1.9 billion. We are now in the final stages of reviewing these applications, some of which required amendments and more supporting documentation. But I want you to know as we move forward, I am committed to working with Congress to ensure there is sufficient funding available for this program to advance the law's security goals. And I want to close by saying that I'm committed to working with all of you to bring wireless service to all corners of this country, rural America included. Thank you for what you do. You're an important part of making this happen. Have a great summit.